Infinite script fighting is a game full of scripts. Go figure. Some good, some bad, some OP, some underpowered, and some that are just mid. And one pretty good example of that is Teapot Turret. Teapot Turret is the 12th quest script you unlock after you get a total of 300 kills, whether that be players or NPCs. Teapot Turret, much like John Doe or your Zester, has two distinct modes, both of which featuring different abilities they can use, so let's have a look at both of them.
Normal mode.
Normal mode gives Teapot Turret 4 distinct moves. He has an M1 ability that features him swiping his arms in front of him, with each hit dealing a different amount of damage. The first M1 has you wave your hand in front of you, which deals 14 damage total. The next M1 has you raise your hand, creating a small line of fire in front of you, dealing 15 damage total. The third M1 has you spread your hands apart, creating a small explosion around you, dealing either 18 to 21 damage. The first actual ability they have is Fire Shield. When you press C, fire orbs appear around you and rotate in a ring. Each orb deals 18 damage before disappearing after about 2 to 3 seconds. Overall, this move is decently good, being able to do a decent amount of good damage without having to get too close to your opponent. The next ability is Cannon no Jutsu. This move has Teapot Turret clap their hands together, which causes a slow-moving projectile to be released, aimed to where your cursor was pointed when you activated the attack. The projectile consists of slow-moving fire orbs, each orb dealing 18 damage when it comes into contact with a player. Because of the slow movement, the damage of each orb stacks, meaning it can do a large amount of damage. Now, my thoughts on this move will come later, as well as my thoughts on the next move. The next move being Spin Fire. When C is pressed, Teapot Turret goes into a dropkick pose and releases a projectile consisting of a circle of fire orbs that slowly converge into one fire orb. If it comes into contact with a person, it deals 18 damage, but if it hits the ground, it explodes, dealing 9. Teapot Turret's normal mode consists of range abilities dealing a decent amount of damage without you having to get too close to your opponent. Then there's F, which, when pressed, activates
Hammer mode.
Hammer mode is the other distinct mode of Teapot Turret, giving them the famous Gravity Hammer, a tool given to them with the original Teapot Turret hat. With the Gravity Hammer, it changes up Teapot Turret's gameplay entirely, focusing less on ranged abilities and more on close-up, confrontational heavy damage dealing abilities. In Hammer mode, Teapot Turret only has 2 abilities. Like normal mode, Hammer mode also has an M1. However, unlike normal mode's M1s, it only has 1 attack as opposed to 3. When M1 is clicked, Teapot Turret whacks the ground in front of them, creating a small blue orb where the hammer hits the ground, dealing 30 damage and slightly flinging hit players. Overall, a good M1 with a small damage zone, but it makes up for it with good damage. The first actual ability they have is Slam, which is self-explanatory. When Z is pressed, Teapot Turret slams their hammer down into the ground, creating a medium-sized blue orb where the hammer hits the ground. This move deals 40 damage and flings the player that is hit more than their M1 would, often sending them up into the air. Their second and last ability is called Hammer Spin. Hammer Spin is by far one of the most versatile moves Teapot Turret has. When X is pressed, Teapot Turret spins their hammer around at a fast pace, dealing 20 damage and flinging the hit player upwards. During this attack, Teapot Turret can do one of 2 things. Either stand in place, making the move an AoE of damage, being able to fling players that lead too close, then lead into combos, or Teapot Turret can move around to chase after players to make sure they can't get away. This option is made easier due to the fact that Teapot Turret gets a considerable speed boost when this attack is active. Now that we've covered Teapot Turret's moves, let's get into why I would call him mid.
My gripes.
My gripes with Teapot Turret have to come from his ranged abilities. Cannon no Jutsu and Spin Fire, compared to other ranged abilities in the game such as Omega's Molten Metal, which deals 20 damage, or Solar Flare's Solar Flare, dealing 18 to 20 damage. Both of which dealing damage similar to Jutsu and Spin Fire. But when comparing Teapot Turret's ranged move to the likes of these, one factor stands out. They are too damn slow. The speed at which these projectiles move allow even for the slowest of the slow scripts to get out of the way before these projectiles hit. These similar abilities deal around the same amount of damage as these two, except they pose an actual threat, as they move at an actual speed, which makes them more worth it to throw out compared to any other move on their kit. But because of the limitations on Teapot Turret's projectiles, this often makes it to where they aren't worth it to use because of their slow speed, and because Spitfire has you stand still for 1 to 2 seconds, which means a lot when going up against scripts with strong and fast M1s or ranged abilities, making you very susceptible to any kind of damage, possibly costing you the fight. Speaking from personal experience here, due to how Teapot Turret's projectiles act, you would end up finding yourself using hammer mode much more often, or even all the time, to survive most encounters. The projectiles' upsides aren't enough to outweigh their biggest flaw, so what can we do to change this? Well, let's see.
Possible changes.
To make Teapot Turret's projectiles worth it to use, some adjustments would have to be made, so let's get the most important out of the way. Speed them up. Doing this would make his normal mode actually viable against scripts with good mobility, such as Neptunian V or Cube Buster. This means you wouldn't have to use hammer mode as a crutch to win most encounters. Now yes, while hammer mode would be good to deal with encounters like these, with these kinds of confrontations you wouldn't need to solely use it. Another possibility to be made is the Spitfire. Instead of the projectile passing through the enemy then exploding upon hitting the ground, make it where if the projectile hits a player, have the explosion happen on them, dealing the explosion damage as well as the projectile damage. Now, Cannon Ninjutsu would also benefit from the speed up, like how Spitfire would, but a neat idea I had was for Cannon Ninjutsu to fling a hit player on contact. This would make Cannon Ninjutsu a good move, allowing for Teapot Turret to lead into combos from it.
Final thoughts.
Overall, Teapot Turret is a fairly good script, but is dragged down by its ranged options, leading to them having to rely on close-up melee damage to reliably kill opponents, which could possibly lead to your death. Teapot Turret is one of Infinite Script Fighting's many potential men, as with a few simple changes could have Teapot Turret doing numbers, but ultimately falling short from grace to being a melee-dominated character with some practically non-existent range options. Just a reminder that this video is solely my opinion. This video consists of thoughts from myself. If you think differently or have other thoughts as to how rework could work, feel free to tell me in the comments. I hope you all enjoyed this new form of video, mostly inspired by Craft. Go check him out, he makes good videos. I'm planning to make a turn to mostly Infinite Script Fighting content, with some asym content sprinkled throughout. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like or maybe even subscribe if you wanna, but that's all from me today. I'll catch y'all later.